Jesus. This is an AOC 32:9 aspect 120 hertz monitor. It is an ultra wide panel, and we're gonna review it. Try to play some games with it. First, I gotta get it up the stairs though. If you're upset about that inconsiderate Windows activation watermark plaguing your screen, snag an OEM license. SCDKey makes it simple. You have one in a few seconds for a little over $10, then click here, 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 and then here, paste your activation key, and you can kiss that watermark goodbye. And be sure to use my new offer code GSL for a 12% discount on your order. I have no idea how I'm getting this up there. Oh. Yeah, one stair at a time. Oh my, this is definitely, by far, the biggest monitor I've ever tested. There's something about this that just intrigues me, because while it is extremely large, it's also gonna look freaking awesome in a gaming setup. Are you recording this? Don't make fun of me. Pepsi. This is not your new play box. Not yet, anyway. Holy sh**. This is so dang wide. I thought I was gonna have enough space on my desk in the other room, but now I'm second guessing it. All right, let's see if this is just a one-man job or if you're gonna need to put the camera down. Now, one of the things we're gonna be talking about in this video is practical applications. So what really is the use case for a monitor like this? And if you think about it, this monitor technically is two monitors in one. So 32:9, if you divide 32 by 2, that's 16. So 16:9 is a typical aspect ratio of like a TV or a typical 1080 1440p gaming panel. 32:9 is two of those sandwiched together. So what I'm thinking is we could treat this as two separate monitors without a bezel in the center. Whereas, you know, two separate monitors having a bezel in the middle is kind of a downside if you want to watch ultra-wide content or something like that. But if you want to have a seamless transition between two different panels, pretty sure we can do that here. So we're gonna try to set it up that way, and we'll treat it as such for the remainder of the video. Dude, you know your monitor's legit when it comes with its own remote. Now, this is an 1800R curved panel, 1800R standing for the radius in millimeters. If you were to draw an imaginary circle, the diameter would be somewhere in the center, and 1800 millimeters from that center to the circumference, or what would be the circumference of the circle, this is the shape that that circle would make. If you had a 1000R, this would be a sharper curve because you would have a shorter radius, right? So this can basically just kind of sit up as is. You don't even need a monitor stand, not that you would want to do this, but that's just to illustrate how curved and how wide this panel actually is. Now, there is a box that you'll get inside of the much bigger box. And in here, Nate, if you want to just pan on over, we've got 4 screws for mounting the monitor to the stand, which is quite big. We have, what is this, a USB 3 extension cable, and then we have the power cable. So it looks like this has an integrated power supply, which is good, it should. We have 2 AAA batteries for our remote. Yeah, I think it's so cool that we get one of these. And we have another layer. Okay, so looks like HDMI, I'm assuming HDMI 2.0, and then also DisplayPort. There's also a Type-C cable. So Type-C to Type-C. Not sure what you need it for, but there is support for it. Now, this is the included monitor stand. You can see it's pretty big. It has to be for such a large panel. It does have swivel support, height adjustment, and tilt support. So all 3 included here, which is nice. You also do have VESA mount support if for whatever reason you wanted to use a custom monitor stand. You could totally do that, but this thing is so heavy as is. I think I'm content just using this here. So we're gonna try to mount it. I'm gonna try to do it myself, but I probably will need Nate's help. We'll see. Yeah, you wanna put the camera down? We'll use these screws here.
Now, obviously, one of the big advantages to having a single 32:9 aspect panel versus two 16:9s is the lack of a bezel gap, for lack of a better word. I have a dual monitor stand that's keeping both of these PX275 Pixio panels up. I really like this setup, but again, you have to deal with this gap. You have to treat this as two separate panels in several ways. You have to power both of them separately. You have to run two different DisplayPort or HDMI cables to both sets of panels, and it can just be kind of a nuisance to set up. And some of these dual monitor stands can be a bit rocky. You see, you can do this all day. It's kind of annoying, especially when you're typing on a keyboard. So we're gonna swap this out for the single AOC 32:9 panel and see if we can set it up as a dual panel display with the lack of a center bezel. Should be pretty awesome, and then we can start testing the basics like ghosting, refresh rate, and color accuracy. So you can see how much of this real estate is not even occupied by game footage. That's typically how it would be on menu and loading screens. We'll see though if there's support for this wide a format in Modern Warfare. Kind of thinking there won't be. Also, I have not calibrated both sides of the screen yet. For some reason, this side of the screen is cooler than this side, which is a bit warmer. And so that's why you see this line down the middle. Hopefully it's something I can work out in the OSD, which at first glance is kind of tricky to navigate. So let's see first how this looks, if it's even worth playing like this. Oh, is my field of view wider? Also, I definitely am not playing at 120 FPS. Yeah, I'm at 70 frames per second right now. So I'm gonna drop all of the in-game settings from high down to medium using an RTX 2070, which is kind of a mid to upper range card. Should still handle this just fine in lower settings. So that's what I'm gonna see if we can do to pick up that frame rate. Because right now in the mid 60s, not too great. So dropping the settings a bit, we're in what, 90 to 100. We're almost in the 120 range. Let's see if we can fix the color. So Nate, if you want to swing on over to this bottom right-hand corner, you can see we've got image setup, which is what we had to go to if we wanted to run dual monitors, essentially. And we have that set up, I think, the way we should. And then we have extra, which includes input select, DDC, and then just a reset button. And then OSD setup, but I can't access color setup, which is kind of weird to me. So it won't let me go up any higher than that. And I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't know. This is the one really disappointing thing about this. I love how everyone's running beside me. They don't see that I'm here. This is the ultimate camping spot. Okay, so we finally worked out the kinks regarding color differences between both sides of the panel. It's a bit weird. I had to download a couple AOC drivers and then manually change the color profile on the left side. It's as close as it can get for now until we figure out a better solution. I'm sure there is one out there, but we have the testufo.com site up, and I'm just looking at ghosting right now. This is actually a VA panel. Keep that in mind. It will struggle a bit with ghosting. This is only a 120 hertz refresh rate, but there is a fair degree of it. I know you're not really gonna be able to see that on camera, but it's about as bad as it was in the 240 hertz MSI panel that I actually ended up giving to Nate for his editing rig. Now, 120 FPS is definitely enough for a panel this size. Obviously, jumping up to 240, you'll start to see diminishing returns, but I do think you will notice a difference if you're already trained to be fairly responsive to 120. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look choppy. There's nothing inherently wrong with the picture itself. The colors are a bit and then good gosh. The on-screen display, we got to talk about this. The OSD is not good. Okay, so first up, this is what the OSD looks like, and it is not very appealing at all. You cannot, as we said earlier, change the color profile of each individual monitor when you're running picture by picture, which is what we're doing here to get kind of a dual monitor setup all on one panel. You do have a few other options here to you can have input select, DDC, and reset if you want to just completely start from scratch. There is an image setup option, which is where you enable PBP in case you're wondering where that is. You can set your main and secondary sources. And then also down here in the bottom right, OSD setup, not much you can do. You can change the DisplayPort capability, horizontal and vertical position, transparency for the display. Let's actually try to do that, see what happens. So bump this up. Yeah, so it just changes how bright or dark it is. Honestly, this is one of those things where I recommend you just tweak it once and never touch it again, because this is not good. I really do not like this display. So at the end of the day, I think this definitely has an application, it is a fairly expensive panel, as I'm sure you can imagine. Probably more expensive than two comparably spec'd 1440p panels, if we're being honest. And there is quite a bit of QC that goes into a panel like this. I have not seen a dead pixel in this display, which I think is pretty incredible because there are so many pixels packed into this 32:9 aspect. And considering it's VA, kind of hit or miss. The contrast ratios are decent for this panel. I didn't notice much backlight bleed at all, to my surprise again, because it is so large. And screen tearing, things of that sort, it's not too bad. We're getting stutter warnings occasionally here, but I think this is more of a browser issue than it is a model or a panel issue. I don't see any red flags with regards to picture quality, color accuracy. That's a good thing, especially at this price point. There are a few issues with the setup though. I mean, I think that the legs are a bit too big. I know they have to be big, but I really wish I don't know. I think what it really comes down to is the panel shape. It needs to be more curved if it's gonna be this wide. Because as it is, if I try to pull this any more forward, that would make it more immersive so that the corners aren't so far from my face, I end up losing desk space for my keyboard, and you can see my keyboard barely fits here. And we really struggled to find a place to put this on the L-shaped desk. So maybe 1000R would have been better. I know that Samsung and a few others released more curved iterations of this form factor, but as it is right now, I'm still gonna try to use it. I'm gonna try to use it for a few weeks and kind of feel it out. I'll probably update you guys on Twitter at the end of this run, just to kind of let you know what my feelings are at the end of the day, because I've only had this for a few days. But yeah, it's one to consider. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you not to consider it if you have the money. It's definitely cool to have two different panels essentially side by side. I mean, come on, like, I could look at that all day. And you could even play some games in this super wide aspect. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of a panel this size. It is definitely beefy. I know Nate and I were pretty shocked at how large, how wide it was. A few things I would change. Definitely the stand. I would make it more curved. I would change the OSD altogether. But at the end of the day, it is definitely a showpiece and it will distract whoever walks into your office or bedroom. If you guys like this one, click the thumbs up button, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name's Greg. Thanks for learning with me.